Good, happy Monday morning. Is Monday, October 28th, 2024. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this Monday morning edition of WRMK News 12 Morning Newscast. We have a lot of news to get to this Monday morning, so let's begin right now. First up, suspect found after allegedly firing shots in downtown Derry early Sunday morning. Let's take a listen to that report from WMUR News 9.
Derry police say they got 911 calls for shots fired around 12:40 this morning on East Broadway Street. The suspect later found after leaving the scene. Hair of the dog owner, Kevin Decker, called in after it happened outside his bar.
At that point, my staff called me down because a gentleman went to his truck and fired a few rounds in the air.
Longtime residents sharing a sentiment of surprise.
I'm shocked about it myself. Like I said, growing up here, I live nearby here. It's very unusual.
One word used repeatedly by Derry small business owners.
It's very scary. It's, something you don't expect here in Derry.
Scary, but not surprising, unfortunately, with the way things are in the world. But yes, glad that it didn't happen during the day.
A scary incident owners hope doesn't happen again.
I mean, Derry's a quiet town, and we don't get a lot of problems. Downtown's a great community of businesses, so we really don't have much trouble down here.
Now, Derry police say no one was hurt and that investigation is ongoing with no current threats to the public.
Okay, and there you go on that report. 9-month-old overdose after being exposed to a baggie dropped on floor in Charlestown, police say. Let's take a listen to that report from WMUR News 9.
Isabel, John, I spoke with Charlestown police who say the baby was exposed to the fentanyl after a man dropped a bag of drugs on the floor of an apartment building on Claremont Road. Police say this happened at the Meadowview Apartments on September 19th. They say a 30-year-old man from Proctorsville, Vermont was at that building visiting his son, and while there, they say the man dropped a bag of powdered drugs onto the floor. They say the child who overdosed was not the man's child, and police tell us the man was unaware of the fact that he dropped the bag in the first place. They say the baby found it and was exposed. The child's mother then tried driving the 9-month-old to the hospital, but ended up stopping at a busy intersection in Claremont where she called police. At this point, we know 1 minute after that call, an officer administered Narcan, saving the baby's life. The man hasn't been charged or arrested yet, but the case now moves to the Sullivan County Attorney's Office.
The public is pretty upset about the incident. Unfortunately, it's something that happens just too often in this state, in this country nowadays. The influx of fentanyl. Common sense would say keep drugs away from kids.
Now, the Department of Children, Youth, and Families continues to be involved in this case, and Lieutenant Graham tells me their oversight is important to make sure nothing like this happens again. In the studio tonight, Imani Fleming, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that report. Grapponi Conference Center hosts Mind, Body, and Spirit Evolution Expo in Concord. The Grapponi Conference Center in Concord hosted a Mind, Body, and Spirit Evolution Expo on Sunday to promote healthy habits among Granite Staters. The event featured more than 50 healthy-related vendors and activities including massage therapy, Reiki, and on-site wellness workshops as well. It's to bridge the gap between mainstream and holistic So, showing people that there's alternatives out there that actually work and are very helpful. The networking and collaboration, the community that's been created out of it has been phenomenal, said Sonia Garadit, owner of Holistic Pros LLC. This is a biannual event held in spring and fall and is free to the public. Organizers hope to expand the offerings each year. Teenager rescued after falling about 30 feet from rock. Richmond, fire officials say. Fire officials helped rescue a teenager.
Strong supporters were
Helped rescue a teenager who fell from Rock Richmond in Manchester. Battalion Chief Robert said crews responded to the park on 264 Manson Street Sunday night for a teenager who fell about 30 feet from Rock Richmond and landed on a perch in the rock. Authorities said crews initiated a rope rescue and safely lowered the teenager to the ground. He was later sent to Elliott Hospital with head and neck injuries, according to officials. No one else was injured. The battalion fire chief said the teenager is expected to be okay. Fire crews respond to multiple brush fires across New Hampshire towns over the weekend. Let's take a listen to that report from WR News 9.
Today's breezy winds made for another day of high fire danger in the state. Fire crews in Danville were called to Long Pond Road just after 1 this afternoon for a brush fire. Crews were able to quickly deploy hoses and stop the fire from spreading to a nearby chicken coop. The chief says October is typically a dangerous time for fires.
I couldn't stress enough to use caution and follow the state guidelines as far as burning and what we allow for burning.
Crews stayed on the scene for around 90 minutes. Investigators say today's fire was caused by the rekindling of a previous permitted burn. And in Litchfield, fire crews were called in to help after a lawn tractor caught fire and spread to an area of brush. It happened on Charles Bancroft Highway just before 1 this afternoon. Because of the high winds, the road had to be closed in both directions for about 30 minutes while the fire was extinguished. The homeowner suffered burns but refused medical treatment.
Okay, and there you go on that report. Mail truck crashes into a tree in Litchfield. Driver uninjured. A mail truck crashed into a tree in Litchfield on Sunday just after 9:30 a.m. on Derry Road. Crews responded and found the vehicle off the road. Officials reported that the driver was not injured. Investigators determined the crash was caused by mechanical issues. Poll shows Harris reigns slight lead in battleground states. Let's take a listen to that report from ABC News.
Those battleground states could ultimately decide the election. Let's bring in ABC News political director and Washington bureau chief, Mr. Rick Klein. And Rick, the margins are still razor thin, but it appears, according to our latest poll, that Vice President Kamala Harris has has regained a slight lead.
Yeah, Lindsay, our new poll with Ipsos has Vice President Harris opening up a 4-point lead, 51-47 in a head-to-head matchup against Donald Trump. But that is far from a safe margin. In fact, it narrows significantly if you add in third-party candidates or if you zoom in on the battleground states. And there, Lindsay, the story of the race is as close to tied as you can possibly imagine. Our 538 polling average across the 7 major battlegrounds shows momentum toward Trump in the last couple of weeks, but basically it is a deadlocked race overall, even as 40 million Americans and counting have already cast their votes for president. One fascinating dynamic in our poll, Trump is strongest on some of the most critical issues to voters, including the economy and inflation, as well as trust in handling the border. Harris has a significant edge in trust to handle abortion rights, as well as defending democracy, which is a big part of her closing message, as we've been reporting. But when it comes to personal attributes, it is basically all Harris. She has big edges in how she is seen physically as well as mentally, as well as honesty and trustworthiness. Even who understands the problems of people like you, all of that matters down the stretch in a race where people who will decide this race, they almost certainly have yet to cast their ballots. Lindsay?
Both campaigns courting those highly coveted undecided voters. Rick, thank you.
Okay, and there you go on that report. That does it for this morning edition of your morning newscast right here on WRMK News 12. Thank you for tuning in and watching. Have a great rest of your Monday, and I'll see you back here later on today for another newscast. Goodbye, everyone.